So I was away in Spain at the time when I got the call. Come home to some proper devastating news that my mum had passed away. I just remember, like, on our last moments, kind of promising her, like, I'll continue boxing, I'll win you a title. And I haven't really looked back ever since that day, so.
In the white and gold shorts from Luton.
My real dream is to become a British champion. That's what I really want. I want them belts on my mantelpiece. Like, I want all the belts on there. I want it looking like a shrine. Like, people will always remember me for being a champion. They won't always remember you for being a millionaire, but they'll always remember you for what you've done. All I want is a legacy. That's what I want, a legacy. To be remembered in this town. To be remembered with my family. And let them know, like, that greatness can be made from the bottom.
So I've sort of been ticking over, but I thought use Colchester to see where I'm at for the season. So yeah, 7 hours. It was.
Did you feel alright?
Yeah. So
when did you cycle that?
Tuesday to the Colchester game. So I sort of all the elevation was in the first half. So once I got to Gravesend, I sort of knew that it would get easier. But yeah, legs a bit tired, but no, it's really good.
And what, 7 hours non-stop?
I had about 20 minutes stop when I had to get on the ferry at Gravesend.
Oh, okay.
So basically about 20-minute break in 7 hours, yeah.
Bloody hell. What's like your usual when you're riding? Like, do you try to hit a specific time limit for the amount of miles? Say if you're just doing a 30-mile bike ride, will you try and hit a certain amount of hours every single time, or does it just depend how the body is?
When I'm training, I do it in terms of time. So I'm going out, right, I want to do a 2-hour ride, and almost like the pace and the miles is incidental. I'm trying to sort of get miles in the legs and trying to sort of build up my strength and my endurance. If I'm like doing 100 or like a bigger distance, like going to a game. So when I plan the games, I start like when I want to arrive and then I count back. So I basically try and average 15 mile an hour, 16 mile an hour.
16 mile an hour.
And then, yeah, I mean, obviously we can talk about it. But yeah, I just trying to plan it back in terms of, because a lot of the stops are basically to charge all my equipment and to get the brakes in.
Love a Starbucks stop, no. Millionaire shortbread.
Millionaire shortbread is my thing, because like I get to a start, I think, right, I need my protein, need my nutrition, and need all the good stuff that helps me. Then I see a piece of millionaire shortbread, and then it all goes out the window.
To be fair, you need it though for big rides like that.
Yeah.
How are you normally fueling for your rides? What do you normally eat?
So basically, I have carbohydrate drinks.
Okay.
So the carbohydrate drinks give you the energy. Then the protein bars basically help to repair the muscle tissue that get damaged through cycling for that amount of time. So
how many bottles do you normally carry if you were going on one of your big rides? Say if you're doing 100.
I'm really rubbish because all the experts say, oh, you should drink 500 millilitres every hour, but I'd just be permanently stopping. So I probably get through 500 millilitres every 3 hours.
Wow. Jesus.
Just
soldiering it. Luton's David Goggins.
I know, which isn't enough. It should be more, but it's just how you plan it, and the whole thing is...
But you've achieved it, so you must have felt...
Yeah, the rule of thumb is if you start to try and get protein in your body when you're feeling tired, it's too late. You've almost got to get that protein in, so that it helps repair the muscle tissue, and it helps... You're basically trying to avoid the fatigue process. I mean, I could talk to you hours about the technical side of it, of how the body recovers and how the coping mechanism of your body copes with sort of like cycling for 7-10 hours a day.
We'll definitely get into the technical side, to be fair, because it's something that we do find interesting.
Yeah, because bloody hell, riders definitely can find out more.
But we've been rolling anyway. Obviously, we've got Mark Crowther with us. This is a really good pod for us. We've got your book. We've both read through it. Jason told us about you when he came along, and we were like, I've never heard of the Luton's David Goggins. How have I not heard of the Luton's David Goggins? Like, cycled to every away game, I want to say in the 2022 season, 21-22.
Yeah.
Triumphed some big away days as well, like Middlesbrough. Was Middlesbrough the longest one?
So Middlesbrough was 3 days, Swansea was 3 days, Blackpool was 3 days. And then, it's just 40-mile-an-hour winds, cycling on the promenade in Blackpool. Never to be forgotten.
Do you take any of the views in when you're cycling?
I think there's a few pictures in the book of like the North Yorkshire moors, and there's a famous one where there's pictures of snow on the ground.
Before the Middlesbrough came.
There's like snow, so I always try to like think, oh yeah, I'll take that in. Oh, that looks a nice picture. That looks a nice picture. But I'm like just thinking, I want my rest more than I want to take photos of beautiful scenery.
You're not thinking about the views.
So yeah, it all depends on how I'm feeling, like my threshold range, but also like a lot of it's mental. So if I'm like feeling really good, want to stop, or sometimes like just like the pain is just I want it over with. I want the pain to stop, and I just want to get off the bike.
Did you think before you started it, when you said to yourself, "I'm gonna ride to every away game"? Did you think it would be as hard as it was?
I'd never experienced cycling for so long in the cold. All my cycling before that had been done in the summer, so I'd done sort of like extreme distances before, but it all been in the summer. It hadn't, so I've never experienced like 3 days to Middlesbrough in
the cold.
In the cold, yeah. I mean, like January, Swansea was in January, so that was the thing. And obviously, the way the body works is that when you're cold, you're having to use up more energy because you're having to work harder. Whereas when you're in the warm, the muscles are loose and they're relaxed, and so yeah, it's a lot harder when you're trying to keep the body warm and trying to keep everything circulating.
Especially like your feet, because they're plant. When you ride a bike, they're planted in, aren't they? Your feet.
Yeah. So
how are you keeping your feet warm?
So cycling shoes are fitted in cleats, so your feet aren't moving. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you can reposition your toes. So it's really the biggest danger is when it's freezing, you lose all sense in your fingers. If you get a puncture and you've got no feel in your fingers, you can't rip a inner tube out and fix a puncture because you need that feeling. So that's when it gets
a bit hairy.
Gets a bit interesting, basically.
Did you suffer with many punctures and stuff? Because in the book, I didn't really see. Once. I think one when you went to Halfords and just got it replaced, but I didn't see any others in there.
I had one Nottingham, more or less, just before I set off. And yeah, I had two basically, and then I think I had a couple of slow punches where luckily I could just nurse the vehicle. I mean, the Huddersfield was like the bike just came to a grinding halt. The gears wouldn't change. I literally had one gear for the last 10 miles, and just nursed the bike to the finish basically.
Jesus Christ,
that's not bad going though.
No. 2
punches in 28, was it 28 rides?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I know. I think sometimes you think
you'd think, like, I think when people ride, like, you'd get a lot more punches. You'd get a lot more punches on the road. No, I don't know why though.
Yeah, I mean, my cycle app takes me off road. Well, I say off road. It takes me off the main busy roads to try and keep you safe. And you go down these country roads that, there's like lots of...
Are they generally safe though?
They're safe, but there's a lot of debris on the road and there's less traffic, which is why the cycle app takes you off it, so that you're not... I've had a few hairy moments where I've been on the A1, like with lorries going past and 20-mile-an-hour winds, and but sometimes you just try and get through sections. And I think, okay, it's only a couple of miles. I can sit on the A1, or the Nottingham bypass was a bit interesting. You've got traffic coming up both sides of you, so yeah, it's all part of the experience. And
so what was some of the big rides you used to do before you actually started this away ride?
So I've done Land's End to John O'Groats.
Land's End to John Groats. How many miles is that?
1,000 miles in 7 days.
Oh, gee. Right,
So it's literally the furthest northest the furthest northest point of the UK to the furthest south.
Wow.
So
7 days.
Yeah, and I sort of learned. I had a lot of experiences and a lot of things I did wrong on that, which has sort of helped me.
Yeah.
Sort of think, okay, I'll learn from that. I won't make that mistake again. So.
Was it just you on your own doing that, or was there like a group of you doing it?
I had a support vehicle for Land's End to John O'Groats, but yeah, it was, and sort of got injured 100 miles in, so I was really riding injured for 900 miles.
Where did you injure yourself?
So my patella, which is like the knee.
The knee.
So yeah, it's. I think when you're doing
It's uncomfortable, that is.
yeah, but when you do endurance events, you get used to having niggles, but it's just knowing when that niggle could be something more serious.
Yeah.
And I'm just too stubborn to stop.
You just push through it anyway.
Wow, that's a big ride. And what is that, like a proper famous ride then? Was there a lot of riders doing it?
It's the most iconic thing to do,
What an
to
achievement.
cycle to the length. But everything I do, all my rides I do are all for charity. And I sort of, my feel is that what I'm going through is nothing compared to the work that the charities do, but also the people that need those charities.
Of course.
Like I always say, I get tired, cold, wet, frustrated, but then I get over that and I recover. Whereas a lot of people that need the charities, they like giving up isn't an option for them. The same. So sort of for me, supporting the charities is like I'm committed to do it, and I'm going to get to the end one way or another. That's just my mantra, basically. That
I love your determination, because it throughout the book it's solid.
It is an amazing book, and for anyone out there who hasn't read it, go on Amazon and buy it and give it a read, because it really is amazing. Like, to travel all them, and that when you talked about the EFL, because you got nominated for the supporter of the year. Why didn't they say on the awards that you rode to every away game?
I was just some support that went to the game.
Yeah, they made it out as if, oh, this guy just went to the games. Like, he's just been to every game for ages.
Yeah.
Like, no, you rode to every away game. They didn't. I feel like if they would have said that, you probably could have won it. Like,
maybe, but it's just an honour to be nominated.
Oh no, 100%.
I mean, just
It must feel so surreal for you as well, and at the same time,
being a big time Luton fan.
I was on the table with Mick Harford and Gary Sweet and David and Nathan Jones, and we're all sat at the same table, and like it's just talking non-footballing stuff, and it was just like very surreal to be. I mean, they're all my heroes. I mean, I'm a passionate Luton fan for 40 years, and really the players are living out my dream. Obviously, our supporters, it'd just be our dream to run out Kenworth Road and and they're living out our dream basically, and that's why we sort of hold them in such high esteem.
Were they, when you met them in person, did they meet up to the expectation you had in your head?
I mean, I've just been so privileged what I've done to get to know and spend time with Mick, and what a humble, genuine, decent guy he was, and for him to write the foreword for the book is just like
massive.
A dream, and he's like, and everyone with the club, and I always say that every player I speak to, I've just had a brilliant experience, and everyone is so humble, and when you speak to people in the club, I always found they always speak to me on my level, and it just proves what a brilliant football club it is, that. And the people that they bring into the club, the players, they're all good characters. No one's got ideas above the station or inflated egos. And it's everyone you speak to in the football club. It doesn't matter who it is. They're all just like nice, genuine people. And it's like everyone's like, and obviously the journey getting to the Premier League, everyone's just so committed and like Gary and the board, they're so bought into what the club means to the community. And what they've done to sort of, we're so lucky to.
It's because Luton's like a massive culture, innit? It's like everyone's built it together.
We've been on the journey together, and I know we've had our difficult times, and I think difficult is probably an understatement. And we've had times where we weren't run properly, but what the 2020 board, Gary and David and everyone else has done, and everyone's so ingrained into like doing the best for the club and doing the best for the community and how the club is positioned. And now we're in the Premier League, it's doing so much for the community.
Do you have high hopes for what we could do in the Premier League? Like, you look at a Brighton and how they've been run and how they managed to stay up, and kind of
definitely.
now they're settled as a Premier League team. Do you think Luton could kind of mimic that same?
Well, even if you look at Brentford, I mean, the sort of model of Brentford and the model of Luton, I think are sort of like quite similar. And if you think like a couple of years ago, how we nearly got relegated in our first season in the Championship, we just like stay in that league and then we can sort of develop. And I feel the same about the Premier League. It's going to be so tough, but it's just going to be an incredible journey, incredible ride. And we're going to upset a lot of teams. They're going to, when it comes to Kenilworth Road, they're going to. It's going to be a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, no one's going to like playing there.
No, they're not going to enjoy it. But I mean, what Rob and the backroom staff and the players he's brought in. I mean, went to Colchester Tuesday and just seeing some of the new players. And the good thing I like is they're bringing in players. Like, they're not just bringing players in to stay in the Premier League. It's not like one season or bust. These are players that they're signing for the future, and they constantly do that with the club. They're looking at the bigger picture and not just short-term
For
vision.
here and now, yeah.
I mean, like, the players we just signed are going to be great players for the club, period. Not just the Premier League, but like the future. It's exciting, like, that what's ahead for the club, for the community. It's just going to be brilliant.
I do quickly want to go all the way back to the start of your journey, and sort of just touch a bit on your upbringing and why you actually chose the charities you chose. Just a bit more about you and how you don't have to go through everything, just whatever you're comfortable with speaking about, and kind of what got you to this point in the journey and why you do the rides for charity.
I mean everyone from Luton will know me for the last 2 years, but I really started my fundraising in 2016. So my friend's daughter died of cancer, and so going back a bit, I used to do a bit of running. I did the London Marathon '97.
Wow,
that was the beginning of the end. My knees just couldn't cope, and I had to give up running.
Oh, so you've always been a mentality monster then?
Yeah, and so then I sort of got into cycling. Some says, cycling's low impact, it will help. And I just wanted to sort of keep busy. And so then I sort of found cycling as a tool that I can sort of raise awareness and try and help charities that I'm passionate about. And so going very quickly, 2016, I cycled to every cricket county ground. So it's like 18 counties, like in 3 weeks. So that was where it all started. And I just thought, this might give me a tool to sort of like keep fit, follow my passions, and try and help some charities. So I mean, since 2016, I've raised about 34,000.
Jesus, man.
So, but yeah, most people that will be watching this podcast or that know me through Luton will know the last 2 years. So almost bring it forward to 2021. I sort of really struggled with depression, the lockdown. Really was in a dark place, and I was not the only one. A lot of people found the lockdown difficult, sort of had to work from home and couldn't go to football, couldn't see people from football.
Just isolation.
And I was just like isolated, and I found it really difficult to cope with, and even leaving the house was just like a massive thing for me, and sort of had a lot of suicidal tendencies and really struggled with just like doing day-to-day functions. And luckily through my work, they sort of recognised that I was struggling, tried to get me back in the office, and then recommended me to see a counsellor.
Do you recommend that for a lot of people who are struggling at home? Because a lot of people find it hard to speak to people. They don't want to speak at all. But I know you got a bit in the book where you say...
Yeah.
it's good to speak. Well, the first step of recovery is to speak.
I think the first step is sort of acknowledging that you're struggling. I mean, I've had periods through my life where I've struggled. I mean, going way back to, like, I was probably 17, 18 the first time. And back then, that was in a time of life where just man up, just get on with it. Just
It's so crazy as well. Isn't
yeah,
it
it was around that time where, like,
pushed aside.
people, you wouldn't like to admit it was like seen to have a weakness. And you just tell them, man up, get on with it. Like, but obviously, as the years have gone by, when I've sort of struggled, it's become more accepting. And through sort of like the last few periods where I've struggled, you sort of think you've been through it and you know the signs, and okay, I'll know what to do next time. But the best way to trying to explain it is, you sort of cocooned, and it's almost like you're in a room and the walls are getting closer, there's no windows, there's no doors, and you sort of feel suffocating, and you're almost like lost in that moment. So you're not thinking well, for me, I can only speak on my experiences, and people might think, can't relate to it, and think I'm talking rubbish, but it's just my experiences. And you don't think logically that, okay, well, this happened last time and this is what I did last time. And so I've sort of like struggled with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, just have a really low opinion of myself, and always like the perception of myself is way worse than sort of people's perception of me.
Yeah.
So basically I just got to a point where I think the most important thing is to like recognise that you're struggling. And for some people, they can talk to family members, some people they can talk to friends, and some people it's easier to talk to a stranger, but the most important thing is to talk to someone. And like one of the pictures in the book is, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And like, even like if you have a friend that says, are you okay? And they say yes, and it's, are you sure you're okay? And then people might open up and say, well, no, I'm not feeling great. But basically, like, and a lot of, well, sort of virtually all the charities and all the fundraising, the awareness I do, I always try to do it for a mental health charity, because I want to get the message out there that nobody should ever suffer on their own. No one should struggle on their own. There is help available. And like I spent yesterday morning with Mind, I went down to the Wellbeing Centre, and just, there is help out there, and no one should struggle on their own. And it all depends who people feel comfortable talking to. I mean, for me, the counselling was, they talked through aspects of my life that I'd sort of almost like blocked out and forgotten about, and sort of there was various trigger points that made me sort of think back as to why do I struggle, and what are the sort of trigger points. I mean, I refer to it as I'm on this journey. It's not a destination, like, oh, I've got there, I've achieved, I'm okay now. You're sort of on this journey. There's potholes in the road, and you have periods where you have good days and bad days, but it's basically just trying to recognise those moments and have things like when I went through with the counselling, there's certain things that they did that helped me. One of them was like a gratuity chart, which basically, like, because I was so low on myself, it's just like to recognise you do things. I mean, like, even putting the rubbish out might sound like the most simple, easy thing, but just taking that step to go outside the front door, put the rubbish out, sort of, right, I've done that. And it's just trying to sort of like recognise that, making little baby steps, and just making progress. So basically, sort of getting back to, so the fundraiser, I just wanted to sort of take the focus off myself and focus on other people. So like my passions for cycling and getting out cycling, getting some exercise, that also helped me, but also my passion for Luton. And I thought, can I do something that will just combine my passions, but also that might be able to help. So if I help one person that realises there's help out there, by what I'm doing. I mean, the mental health is just one of the charities. So
Keith Hospice as well.
yeah, so Keach Hospice, and Keach Hospice do a lot of unbelievable work for people with life-limiting illnesses and people like at that stage. And it's not just them, it's the families that are having to cope with losing a member of the family, and they just do incredible work. So they supported me on the 21-22 ride.
Is that where you got the idea from? You got a bit in the book where you said, back in April 2022, it was my intention to cycle to the last away game at Hull to raise funds for Keith's Hospice in memory of young Ethan.
Yeah. So
is that like where the idea stemmed from?
Yeah, I wanted to do the last game, and then lockdown came and I didn't get to do it. And young Ethan was a little boy that lost his life and was cared for through Keach.
Yeah.
And Keach was like so supportive for his family. And James Collins, one of the Luton players, was sort of got to meet the family and basically, so I basically did a Watford pledge. Been Luton, we know how badly we love beating Watford. So I literally just did, okay, I'll do a Watford pledge. If we beat Watford, I'll make a donation. The minute of the goal and the shirt number, and that was 90 odd pound. And James Collins got the goal, and then he donated, and literally £1,400 was raised.
Wow.
Sitting on my backside, and just because the euphoria of beating Watford and obviously the charities, and that sort of got me known. Few people know me, and then sort of Harry Cornick came around my house, as he does, and I promised
just
him.
normal.
Yeah, it's like Stu, the media guy, says, I just want to pop round, and like Harry Cornick said, it's like, this isn't happening. And I promised him I was going to cycle to every away game. It's like, that's it now. I can't.
Said it.
I can't get out of it now. I've promised, and then the fixtures came out. I thought, January, February, December. This is going to be fun. But yeah, and obviously another charity is prostate. I mean, obviously what Mick's been through. And Mick was so brave to sort of so selfless that he wanted to sort of let everyone know that, and try and raise awareness basically. And I've had family and known people who've suffered with prostate cancer, and the biggest message is just to get checked. Mm-hmm. It's very quick, it's very easy, you can do it yourself. And like 1 in 8 men sort of at risk die of prostate cancer. And if you think like Kenworth Roads holds 10,000, and I know
Wow.
that, yeah, I know it's not all of them are like a home game is not everyone that's at risk, but if you just do the numbers and just realise how many people are at risk, and just by getting checked, if you are unfortunate to be diagnosed, then you stand a better risk if it's caught early. And everything that Mick did was just so incredible that it raised awareness and it made people get checked themselves, and obviously the donations for prostate cancer help go to finding a cure and to research and just trying to raise awareness. So once again, I've supported prostate on all of my challenges since I've sort of got involved with the football club. So
I love how all other clubs supported you as well.
Oh yeah.
This, by the way, this water's for you here as well.
Thank you. I'm gonna dry.
Do you want anything else? Do you want a tea or anything like that?
No,
You're fine.
Yeah, I love how like all the other teams, well, most of them like supported your journey, put it up as posts on Twitter and that. But you had one problem with QPR, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or they didn't. Your friend done a write up for them.
Yeah. So my best friend of 40 years, he's QPR fan, and like so on the 21-22 I sort of arrived, and yeah, it's sort of underwhelming a bit, but QPR redeemed themselves when I did the 116 challenge. They shared it on their social platform, raised awareness, so yeah, QPR were back in the good books.
It's good that all the clubs did get, a lot of the clubs did get behind it, to be fair. I know Sheffield United done a lot. It's just amazing what like the message can spread through football as well.
And put away like the rivalry
yeah.
and the football, all the nonsense that comes with it, and people just come together.
Do you know that sort of sums it up? That there's the rivalry and everything else, but I always say that the football community comes together for like good causes, and when I do this and arrive at grounds, and like I didn't ask for anything from Sheffield United, and they gave me a signed shirt and let me in the ground, and so many positive experiences, especially on the 116 where I went to every ground. Some of the clubs that look after you, and it's really nice that the clubs
get appreciated as well.
You get behind it, and I sort of didn't really have high expectations for other clubs because I was coming from Luton and trying to do this, but the clubs were just so supportive. And the thing with all my challenges and the challenge I'm going to do is that it's nice if they donate shirts, but the big thing is if they share it on social media, because I've got 1,200 followers, which yes, I can share it, but
you're more exposed.
If a club's got 100,000, like Luton have got 100,000 followers, and Sheffield United had 250,000 followers, and when they share it, it's raising more awareness, and that's what I'm doing, is trying to raise the awareness and just trying to make people aware what I'm doing, and if it helps if it made one person get checked for prostate and it helps them, and if someone's struggling with mental health, it helps one person just ask for help, and it's all been worth the sacrifice, basically.
That's what's so great about your story, though. You've been someone that's dealt with it, with adversity, and dealt with all your different problems and overcoming problems. So you're a massive advocate for these people.
And I'd never believed what's happened in the last 2 years. I mean, when I started, it was just basically just to try and help. Help me. I mean, it's done a lot for my own mental health.
Yeah.
But really,
it was like to help you. You wanted to help other people, but at the same time, it was healing you.
Yeah, and the main thing for me is just keeping busy. Like a lot of the suicidal tendencies, I was like alone with my own thoughts, and they were irrational thoughts because you're not thinking logically, not thinking rationally, and I knew that I wanted to get better. I knew that I didn't want to feel like this all the time, and it was almost like you were looking for a way out, in terms of it would be so easy to take a path that I didn't want to take, and I knew that I didn't want to always feel like this, and but I didn't know why I felt like I did, and just the struggles were just wanting to focus on other people, and basically like if I can help someone else.
So was it after that point when you got into riding?
Well, no, I've been
or was you riding before that?
No, I was riding like 2015, 2016,
okay.
And the cricket cycle was the first one, which was more trying to help my friend for the charities that helped his daughter before she passed away.
So when you were in a bad place, like suicidal thoughts, and what was the first step you took to get out of it? Just recognising it, and then what did you do after that?
Well, I mean, recognise it was the first step, and trying to, and obviously there's a lot of information online, there's a lot of books, and just trying to sort of, I think a lot of it came from my low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and feeling that I wasn't worth anything, feeling like no one would miss me if I wasn't here, and all those sort of thoughts that you have that are irrational because you would be missed, but at the time you don't feel like it. So it's, like I said, the first step is to acknowledge that you're struggling, you don't want to feel like this, but you do, and you're having thoughts that aren't nice thoughts, but you have a lot of thoughts going inside your head, and sort of trying to leave the house was the hardest thing. But even just getting out on the bike and just cycling and just trying to get to the morphines and just sort of getting exercise and making your sort of feel better about yourself. And it's like one of the things that was explained to me was like trying to explain like a cycle, like going out on a cycle is a bit like life. So you have obstacles in life. Like you get a puncture, you stop, right, and you've got to think, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And it's almost like the cycle of life and the cycle of cycling.
Yeah. How can you adapt?
And it's all about relatability. And obviously my counsellor could see that I was passionate about cycling, how I could relate certain situations to my experiences and my life. And I always remember, I was due to go out, meet some friends, and I was fine with it weeks before, but leading up to it, I just had anxiety and felt anxious. And these were people I'd known. It's not like meeting strangers, but these were people I'd known for a long time. And so it wasn't like I was meeting strangers, but the anxiety and just feeling anxious just built up and up. And in the end, I couldn't go out. I couldn't see through it. So that was another step back. And obviously spoke to the council about those experiences and just like beating myself up. I've known them so long, why can't I just go out and meet them? And obviously talking it through with the counsellor, and just almost like it's like that step in the road. I've hit a pothole, or I feel like I'm going backwards, not forwards. It's all about taking gradual steps.
Do you still use the counsellor now? Is that someone you still speak to, or how do you still?
No, I don't speak to that counsellor now, but I know that support is there if I need it.
Okay, yeah.
For me now, it's about sort of reading. There's a lot of books, and for me, the books are about self-worth,
self-development,
and positive thinking, and so a lot of my rides are sort of as much mental as they are physical, and it's about trying to stay positive and how I overcome sort of like.
So when you're
setbacks.
riding, you got a lot of thinking when you're riding.
Yeah, a lot. There's
you must go through so much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of thinking when I'm on the rides, and a lot of the time you're not thinking about the cycling.
Yeah.
It's obviously we're sort of sidetracking, but if you're cycling for 7 hours, you can't concentrate for 7 hours. But it's quite important that you choose the moments not to concentrate.
Yeah, yeah, especially riding next to busy roads and stuff like that.
So but I mean, and that's another thing, is that through the difficult times, like you have a lot of thoughts going through your head, and it's not always about the cycling, and you just have random thoughts about random things. So it's just trying to stay positive through.
You do have some weird thoughts.
Yeah.
I remember running my marathon, and that I think I was like mile 20, and I just kept thinking of Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Have you watched Lord of the Rings? I don't know. Have you watched it?
No.
Oh, they're on top of a tower fighting, and that's just always in my head. And I'm like, I'm meant to be running. Like, why am I thinking of like this weird scenario of a film?
But it helps you.
But it does help.
If you're thinking like, I'm not even halfway, this is hard work, and you just think of random things that will just help you get through the difficult times. I suppose that's
your brain like coping with it. It's like a coping mechanism to like push you forward.
Yeah, I mean, one of my big things on my rides I talked about a lot in the bike is if I'm struggling, whether it's 100 miles, the next 5 miles, I'm not thinking of anything else. Get through the next 5 miles, and then the next 5 might be easier, and then you get through the next 5. And
I've got a funny bit here to read. You went to Barnsley Football Stadium, and you go, I was ticking off the miles, 60, 65, 70 miles achieved towards Nottingham. I knew I was passing halfway mark. I always remember saying, the good news is you're halfway. The bad news is you're halfway.
I know. And it all depends on your state of, like, how you're thinking at the time. If you're really positive, I'm halfway now. But if the other side of it is, I feel just like really struggling and I'm only halfway. So it all depends, like, and it was always
it's so funny though.
It's because it's so
halfway,
true,
but I'm halfway.
It's so true. It is about all your mindset going into it.
And even like if you get to 51 miles of 100 miles, and like you're nearer to 100 than you are to the start, but you might only be 1 mile.
Yeah.
And And one of my things is if you're doing 100 miles, I say I'm not cycling 100 miles, I'm cycling 5 miles 20 times.
Yeah. It's not a bad way to break it down.
It's weird though, like them little coping mechanisms can make you feel like it's more achievable.
Yeah.
Instead of saying one big word.
Yeah, definitely.
Because 100 miles sounds daunting. But when you say I got 5:20, sort of like, yeah, it seems pretty alright now, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's how I sort of try and cope with it, basically.
Having, obviously, because you had to do some of the rides during the week, or a lot of the rides during the weeks,
Yeah.
And then recovering, and like you said, if you were going to Middlesbrough, it's a 3-day ride.
Yeah.
Did it consume a lot of your life with the recovering and the riding? Like, was it just all you were doing?
And work.
Yeah, and work, yeah.
The whole events, I'm all in. Like, even from the preparation, these challenges take about 6 months to prepare. So if you think like the accommodation, the thing with my challenges is I fund them all myself, because people say, oh yeah, I'll pay for your hotel, but my commitment to doing the challenges is that I fund them myself, because I would rather people donate and that the charities benefit, rather than somebody financing the challenge just for me to do everything. So I'm constantly trying to keep the budget under control. I'm trying to like organising accommodation and yeah, I mean it's a massive thing just to like get the accommodation. You're trying to get it near to where you feel you'll need a stop. You're also having to book it. Obviously, you're cycling there, so you can't jump in a car to go to a restaurant. You've got to find somewhere that you can get food and get recovery in that night.
It's a lot of convenience.
I've also got to find places that will keep the bike secure overnight. So there's all these, and basically the planning, it does consume my life because I'm all in. When I commit to something, I'm totally committed. And
are you planning this all way before, or are you kind of doing it as the season's going on as well?
No, it's literally 6 months before.
6 months before. So even the rides, the scheduling of the rides, that's all planned.
Well, now that I'm with the football ones, like now, so I'm planning for the Premier League. I've planned the routes. I've got all the routes planned, but it all depends on the kickoff time. So I'll start at the start of the game and then I'll work my way back. So depending on whether it's an evening kickoff, it's a Sunday, it's a Friday night, I can't book the accommodation until I know when the match starts, and then how many miles I can do each day and where I need to stay, and it's all that planning. But yeah, I've done all the routes for every 19 away games in the Premier League.
That's going to be good, man. Hopefully there's a few wins in there as well.
Because
you kind of got sandwiched when you done the other ride. It was the season but obviously last season we had an amazing away record.
Yeah.
And you were the season just before that. Well, I think the away record was all right, but it wasn't great. And now in the Premier League, no one's really expecting the away record to be great again, is it?
I mean, I think I took around the book, someone joked, I think we'd lost at Preston, and someone says, oh, they played like they all cycled there. But that was so rare. They were so good.
Did you know you were going to write the book when you started? You didn't?
No.
So how did you? We were talking about this literally just before you come. Did you journal after you had rode? Like, how did you remember every single detail?
The honest truth, when I started it, I thought, well, it can't be that interesting, just a bloke on a bike cycling to football, no one will be interested. And then there's the story, I think Barnsley game, where I had a random conversation with Harry Cornick, Newport Pagnell service station car park at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I just thought, so random that...
Yeah, why was the team coach there?
So basically, a lot of the players were like Milton Keynes based.
Oh, so they meet there.
So the coach stops at Newport and then they'll get picked up.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, that is so random that I thought, well, maybe there'll be random things happening. And then got to October and I still wasn't convinced anyone would be interested. And so I went to visit my sister in Florida. So I was on the flight with no TV, no nothing, 8 hours on a flight. This is going to be a long flight. So I thought, right, I'll just write about the last away game. And literally that's how it started. It was only out of boredom on the flight. And then I started writing the journal for each game after that.
Okay.
And even then, I was still convinced, and it goes back to sort of my low self-esteem and that nobody would be interested. And yeah, and some people said, "Oh, I bet you just got the train and cycled round the corner."
Just some tits. It's so funny.
And other people said, "Oh, it'd be a great read just to know the experience." And yeah, sort of like I kept the journal, and then it got to a point where people said, "Oh, I'd really like it." So it got to a point where I thought, I'm not writing it to be a bestseller, to make money out of it. I just want to share my experience.
Yeah.
So then I found a publisher and then put it together, and it was like a 7 months for an 8-week process. But yeah, then I put it together and obviously had all the photos from each game, and I wanted the book to be about my experience. So there's probably only about half a page on each game. And I just wanted to give people a flavour of me as a Luton fan. And I felt it really important to share my experiences with my struggles with mental health. So I thought, if that helps one person, once again, it's something that people might relate to. And
Well, I think it's good you can come out and speak about it, because you give inspiration to more people to come out and speak about it. And so it's just normal. It's normalised to speak about it, because like I said, a lot of people just hold stuff in.
yeah,
And it builds up, and then we become like a champagne bottle.
Or relatability, they might be able to directly relate with everything you're saying, that they're actually going through the same thing, so it's easier for them to sort of like...
Yeah, so, and basically it was a bit of me as a Luton fan, just to give people a bit of background about me.
I liked that bit. I liked the mix of the riding and then having the bit about Luton afterwards, because it was just a
Passionate
mixture.
fan.
Yeah, it was a mixture of obviously the endurance side of it and how tough the rides were, and then it mixed in with like you said,
Being a fan.
just being a normal person watching the game and just being pissed off like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I just tried to sort of, I mean, I'm not an author, I just wrote it as it was, and it went off to be proofread, and proofread came back with all these red lines through it, and
That's only normal, though.
but yeah, I mean, it's, now I can sort of start to feel like, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed the book." What, you enjoyed it? Really? And like, but yeah, and that's part of my self-esteem. And
Does it always, like with low self-esteem, does it always amaze you then when things go right and stuff? You always just like, wow, like this is happening.
So I started the challenge just to try and, I've said, like, just to keep myself busy and to focus on others. But then if someone said, "Oh, you'll be doing radio and TV interviews," I probably thought, I'm not ready for that. But then as it sort of evolved, I just sort of went into it and just tried to, I mean...
Sort of like pushing yourself out your comfort zone.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I found the interviews probably more uncomfortable than the actual cycling itself.
Yeah.
Because the cycling I'd sort of trained for, and I was sort of like...
You know what to expect.
I know what to expect. And even some of the TV interviews, I couldn't watch it. I had to wait for someone to say, "Oh yeah, you came across really well."
Yeah.
Like one of the BBC ones, I'd recorded it, but I wouldn't watch it until someone...
It's funny though, 'cause this is what I used to be like when we first started the pod. I could never watch myself.
Yeah.
I still am a bit...
Yeah, it's still a little bit like
I have to, because I'm editing it.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when I just hear myself speaking, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, please shush." Shush. Just shush.
You know how you meet people that's so confident,
Yeah.
they don't even entertain like whatever it is in their field. They don't ever entertain that they're wrong or that they've just got this unshakable self-confidence. And I've never been like that. I mean, I think it probably started so I was bullied at school, and I think like bullying, it's like, obviously that's another subject, but like the impact it has on people that are bullied just has a long-term effect on them. But yeah, I've never had that unshakable confidence. I'm always, in some ways, my glass is always half empty, like just because of my perception of myself. But then when I do challenges, the glass is half full because I'm so driven, motivated, determined to do it, and I don't take the easy option.
I definitely can relate with you on that.
yeah, I mean, it's like one of the things is like the football club, they don't back down from a challenge as we go through the leagues, and I'm the same. I work back down from a challenge, and when the going gets tough, the tough keep cycling.
What was it like when you were obviously watching in like the 90s, the 80s and the 90s? Was it a good time to be a Luton fan?
It's just like incredible. I mean, I first started 81. That was literally went to game with friends from school. Saw the last game of the 80-81 season.
Quick one, are you from Luton?
No.
Where was you from?
Originally I'm from Yorkshire.
Oh, okay.
So the family moved down and then went to school sort of back in the Milton Keynes. And went to the last home game, 25th of April, 1981.
Wow.
And then off the back of that one game, we all got season tickets.
just love it.
A motive.
Yeah.
And literally, it's a drug. And in 81-82, we got promoted to the old First Division. We beat everyone. I thought, oh, it's always going to be like this. We'll just go and tear Man United, Liverpool apart and dominate the world. That was my naive thoughts. And just what a great team, like Brian Steen, Ricky Hill. And then the mid-80s, Mick Arthur joined. And 80s was just like an incredible time to be a Luton fan. We were like in the top league. And you talk about the Man City game, winning at Man City to stay up in 82-83, and that game shaped the next 10 years, because if we went back down, I don't think we'd have come straight back up. But on the back of that, those 10 years from 82-83 for the next 10 years into the 90s, obviously the Littlewoods Cup final, we win that. I think we finished 7th, the highest, and what we achieved for the next 10 years was on the back of staying up. And I also think, bring that forward, like staying up in the Championship, Nathan Jones coming back, and if you think how we've progressed each season, Championship, and now in the Premier League, once again, would that have happened if we didn't stay up? So I see parallels from the 80s to now, and obviously there was the dark days with the 30 points and the non-league days, and like I remember
the gritty days.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Pele's now Pele's a legend. He's been here for like 10 years, but I remember being beyond the goal at Dartford in the non-league days when he scored the screamer from 30 yards. And like now he's a Premier League player, and he's McNulty. Oh, and I wouldn't like to. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, I mean, Gary Sweet says, like, clubs say, oh, we like to replicate what Luton have done. It's like, you can never replicate what we've done because you've never been through what we've been through. You've not had 30 points deducted. You've not had 5 years in the non-league.
Yeah, Luton have been through the mud.
Yeah, they've been through the mud. They have. That's what
they're like a soldier that's just been through the mud.
Yeah.
What I do? Sorry to interrupt you. I do really want to touch on the 30-point deduction.
Yeah.
I've not actually spoken to anyone really about it, and I did want. Obviously, we were way too young really to know what was going on then. What was it like from your experience? Like, why do you think the FA did do that? Like, why they done what they done?
They wanted to make an example. And if you look at teams now and they get dock points and they, like, for whatever reasons, go into administration, it was just the injustice that they wanted to make an example of a club. And yes, we had bad, sort of around that time, sort of owners that didn't have the club vested interest, but the penalty and the points deduction. I mean, when Mick that season, like, trying to keep us up when you're on minus 30,
It's impossible.
It was just so tough. I mean, like, all the stories of like the players and the contracts, and it was just like, I mean, it was a battle to save the club. We were fighting for our existence. It was just the core of the club, and you hear like the stories of having meetings in pubs and just trying to like keep the club in existence.
So was this off the back of the 2002 as well? Do they relate with each other when Gary Sweet and that got that guy like overthrown when they got him out?
Yeah.
Do them two correlate? Like, is it from that time?
I think like the 30-point deduction, and Mick came in, and obviously he was manager, and it was just like mission impossible to stay up. But when Gary Sweet and the board came in and they formed the 2020, then like I said, you hear about meetings in pubs, and basically he was just getting loads of good people around the club that had the investment that were truly invested in getting the club back to where it needed to be, and obviously the journey that we've been on, and the main thing was like the loyalty of the fans that stayed with the club through that. It would have been so easy that basically like the fans were fighting for the existence of the club, just to try and just keep the club in existence, and that the fans were never going to accept anything else, that they were going to do what they could do to keep the club in existence, and like the loyalty that the fans showed has been sort of given back to the club, has been given back, just what the club have done to keep the club going. And it was just
it must be surreal for you being there from the 80s all the way up to now. That's it's mad.
I know,
it's a lot of years. And you're a veteran.
I'm 56, so probably you're right. No, I mean, you look at other clubs and you look at what's happened to the Berries of the world, and no true football fan takes any pleasure out of other clubs struggling like that, because it's their community, it's their club, and other clubs have been badly managed, and like there's so many stories where through bad management that clubs go out of existence, and they're just ingrained into the community. And so when I did my 116 challenge, you went round, and all the clubs that were so nice, they were clubs that were ingrained into the community. The Rochdales, the Stockports, the Grimsbys, and like what happened to Bury and other clubs. It's just a reminder that
there is good out there.
What happened to Luton could happen to anyone. I mean, no one's been the injustice of the 30 points. Nobody will have that injustice like we had it. And
that's a lot of points, man.
There are a lot of difficult decisions that the club had to make just to ensure that the existence of the club. I mean, it's a podcast on its own, just talking about some of the hardships and some of the things that the fans did just to keep the club afloat. And like fans at other clubs, they would do the same, because it's their community. I always say, like, the journey that I've been on personally, and Luton have been part of my life for 40 years, and I can relate to periods in my life where I just felt like the club was like my bond, and it was just the thing that kept me going. That was
your little escape.
It was also my escapism. That Luton has always been there for me. It's not just like the football. It sounds silly, but because football is the club, but it's not just the football, if that makes sense.
It's more than just football. It's a family. It's just your livelihood. It's everything.
And I've gone through various, obviously knowing, like having different friends, and friends come and go through my love for football, and I've just got back in contact with a guy called Kevin. He's bought the book, but we had season tickets together in 81, 82. Wow. And now we're back. Now we're sort of back speaking and like in contact, and like we were like,
that's crazy, isn't it?
I know. Wow. And all the group of people that were around at the same time, it's like, we've all changed and we've all been through life experiences, but the football club's been there, and that's why it's so important as part of the community what the club means to. It means different things for different people, but for me, it's that one game I went to at 25th of April 1981,
changed up,
and just having the bug, and like you get hooked, and then it's been part of my life, and I've sort of drifted away for periods, but as I go through different periods of my life, but it's always that bond that there's a bond
come
that
back to.
there's a bond that keeps me coming back.
What was better for you to see, the Littlewoods Cup or the playoff final?
I knew you were going to ask this. Do you know what?
For you personally, like just like take everything like else out, but just for you personally, which one was a better moment for you?
If I had to try and answer that, I'd probably say the playoff final, because of the journey we'd been on. So, I mean, to win our first trophy was just incredible. But I think from when we went into the old First Division, 81, 82, 83, we were in the old First Division. So that was just like a constant, we're just improving and we're establishing ourselves, and like a culmination of that growth was getting to a final and winning the final. But with the playoffs, the journey is sort of journey from the non-league and 5 years in a non-league, and then we've gone through the leagues, and to get to that point, I never thought that I'd see us back in the Premier League, going to Anfield and Old Trafford, and that journey, I think, and I was one of many that was in tears at the playoff final, and they mean different things, but I just think in terms of the journey that we've been on, the sacrifices over the period from the non-league days, it just
meant that little bit more.
It's just it just meant so much that we've been kicked and we've been knocked down, but we keep coming back and we've risen, and we've proven that you don't need rich owners. We've done it with good people, good owners, great recruitment, a brilliant manager, and Rob Edwards has taken us to the Premier League, but John Still, him getting us out of that non-league, he's a legend too, because he started that journey. Then there's Nathan Jones, and so John Still is and I just think when we won the playoff final, you think of so many people. You think of people that are sadly not with us and were not there to enjoy the moment. But I also think that every player that's put the shirt on, every person that's worked at the club, everyone has played a part, no matter how small or how big. The amount of people that have contributed to where we are now is just like incredible, and I think that's why a lot of people are in tears, because they're just emotion of getting there, but also you just think of lost members of family and friends that weren't able to join us for that. But also there's so many people that have contributed, whether they played one game or whether absolute legends like what Mick Harford and a lot of others have done. It's just just emotional experience basically, and what a ride.
Hopefully good for the next 10 years as well.
Oh yeah,
it's still weird when you see the fixtures like Chelsea, Luton, Man U, Luton. It's so weird that they're there.
Although we got promoted, it was when the fixtures came out, that's when it really
hit.
When you see their photos, it's wow.
It really, and even coming out of Wembley, it's we've done it, but it just wouldn't sink in, and I don't think I went home for probably a day or two after the final.
Out on the ton. I think it was the fairest 3 teams as well to go up. I think the 3 teams that did go up deserved it. Burnley, Sheffield. I know Middlesbrough were a bit unlucky, but towards the end of the season, they did decline a little bit.
Mean, the playoffs are here to stay, but Sheffield Wednesday, 96 points, and I actually like the justice of the team finishing 3rd, going up. You were the best team in the...
Because normally it's never like that.
No.
It's never the 3rd team never really goes up.
And I think it should be weighted, so there's more of an advantage finishing 3rd than 6th. But
I think that. I think I was saying this when we were there. I think that whoever, in whatever order it is in the playoffs, you should get more allocation in the final.
Well, no, I just think the team finishing 3rd should just go straight to the final.
Oh, straight to the final.
Yeah.
But then how do you do a little, and then how do you do like a little playoff after that? Though?
Well, in the non-league, it's weighted, so that there's like preliminaries.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
I mean, that'll never happen. But I just think you finish third, you deserve.
I suppose you could do two playoffs. You could do then the 4 teams below that.
Yeah.
If you're in the final,
But anyway,
you could do that.
it all worked out. Justice was done, and we got. But yeah, I mean, the
Mad penalties as well, isn't it?
Because a lot of the penalties were good.
Yeah.
A lot of the penalties were good.
And the thing was that although we knew VAR for the final, when Joe Taylor puts that in the 95th minute, I'm up and I'm bouncing, and you don't think, oh, it's got to go to VAR.
Yeah. I didn't think that in the ground.
Was a crazy experience. Like the adrenaline of the ground, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
And then like to have that adrenaline dump after, you must
feel
be
sorry
so
for him.
drained.
I feel sorry for him.
Dump, and then you hear all of the Coventry fans, and it's like they sounded. Did you agree when they sounded really loud when they got going?
Yeah.
The Coventry fans.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
like, oh
definitely,
no,
yeah.
like, momentum has changed, and it luckily.
Yeah, and literally
shirts.
we're all jumping on top of each other, and we'd won it. And some people are like, oh yeah, it's obvious handball, but then you're in the moment, you forget, oh, there's VAR and everything else, and literally the penalties were so good, and then literally the penalty that missed, I still see it, like the ball rising, and it goes over, and you're there, and
It's done. It's done.
He got released the next day as well. Well, his contract was out anyway,
free,
but
yeah.
imagine your last kick of the ball is to
but where I
Timbuktu.
where I used to work, one of the bosses was Coventry City supporter, and I thought, I'm not going to rub it in, and he messaged me saying, I'm heartbroken, but well done.
It was like the final of the Two Nice Guys. Like all the Coventry fans were like, "Oh, if we don't go up, the only other team we want to go up is Luton."
It's a good news story.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got the good news.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we definitely deserved it.
Just going back to your ride,
Yeah.
I've read in your book, but what was one of your hardest rides?
Oh, probably Middlesbrough. So that was 3 days. Basically one day it just rained like for the whole day. Just had no feeling, just soaked, wet through. And I got to the accommodation, so I booked the accommodation before, and the accommodation was freezing. And it didn't have any heating, but it had like heated floor, and I was literally just laying on the floor because that's the only heat I could get. And yeah, so that was 3 days. So it was like, it wasn't like 100, and then the last day was cycling up through the North Yorkshire moors.
Yeah.
And because there'd been so much rain, the tyres just couldn't get any grip. So literally trying to climb, and like the wheels were spinning. And yeah, it was just like, I think that was probably one of the most mentally challenging ones. But then Blackpool, like the last day, it's interesting now when you sort of, in your mind, you prepare yourself for a difficult or an easy day. So I'd done 2 long days, but I had like 30 miles into Blackpool. So in my mind, it's a piece of cake and this will be easy. And then you sort of go from Preston, like 40-mile-an-hour winds, like Lytham St Anne's, hug the coast, cycle on the promenade, happy days. It was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. I couldn't stand upright. And it went from being the easiest day to one of
The
hardest.
So I mean, you're mentally like, yeah, this day is easy.
But then, like, that was like the hardest day. But then to be met by Gary and David and give me some change of clothes and invite me into hospitality.
Yeah, they done loads for you when you start reading the book. Like they went over and beyond. Like
It's why it's lovely when you first start reading the book. It's like more and more towards the end. More people are coming to you, getting recognised more. You're getting welcomed in more. It's lovely.
people bringing your clothes up. I want to say Stu and Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bobbers Club.
So going back to that, in the beginning where I was getting compliments and subconsciously it's like, they're talking about someone else, or I was like thinking subconsciously they're talking about someone else, or yeah, they're just being nice, just trying to be nice to me. And it took a while for me to sort of acknowledge and accept the praise, which keeps going back to like the self-esteem, that I found it difficult to accept compliments, to accept praise, and it took a while for it to sort of really embrace it. I think embrace is the right word. But yeah, I mean I always say that I'm the one on the bike, I do the miles, but I couldn't do it without the support, because that's what raises the awareness. And when you've got owners that say anything you need, you've only got to ask. How many clubs would have that? It's just what they do and how they support me, and even the little things like take my bag and save me carrying it, and
give you a coat,
doing the commentary.
Imagine is
that a really good moment doing the commentary?
Like 3 days to Swansea, and on the last day, I started about 80 miles to go, and then Stu phoned me and said, because I was meant to do the commentary before, and then the game got cancelled, and then he phoned me on the last day, so would you like to do the commentary? And luckily, unluckily, I had to cycle from Newport to Swansea, which is quite uphill, and didn't have time to think about it. I just wanted to get to Swansea, and that was the dream, because got a standing ovation from the crowd beforehand, and then Stu says, "Oh, don't go afterwards," and then Harry came up, gave me a shirt from the game, and then just to do the commentary. And I remember saying to Simon, right, what should I be? How should I be if we score? He says, "Just be a fan."
It's funny because he is like the ultimate fan when he's commentating.
Yeah,
like that goal versus Portsmouth. Yeah. And he's going mental. Like I'm like this. He's going mental because he's like Monkey. Like he's going nuts.
Do you know what? Simon is just so. Honestly, I can't find enough words to praise him. When you work with him and you're like doing the commentary with him, you just realise what a professional he is. He's got all the notes about all the players, and
passionate.
He's passionate about Luton, but also what an absolute professional, absolute star he is, and so good at
what he does.
At what he does, and honestly, it's just one of the most amazing moments just to be asked to do it, because obviously there's trust involved.
It's quite a hard job, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just to have that trust that they wanted me to do it, and just so many. And I think one of the things about the challenges is, yes, cycling to games, and yes, trying to raise awareness for charities, but I've made friends that are friends for life that I would never have met, because before the challenges, obviously I sound like a stuck record, but I used to go to, and so a lot of the friends in the very early days I sort of lost contact with, and they've stopped going. And in the recent days before the challenges, I'd more or less just go to the game, watch the game, go home. Didn't really interact with a lot of people. But then and through my sort of low self-confidence, people were coming to me and wanted to talk to me, whereas I found it difficult to start conversation with people I didn't know.
Just small talk and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, the people I've met have just been friends for life, and it's so nice that I've got friendships now that will last forever that I wouldn't have had, and it's something that you don't think about when you do these things, that you just have so many experiences and so many people. And I know on my Premier Pedal Challenge that I'm going to have lots more experiences and memories that yes, I'm doing it to, I mean, sorry.
No, go on, carry on. Sorry.
And so bringing it forward, the whole thing about the Premier Pedal Challenges, I was going to stop, and John Clark says you got to do it. And I saw him on Tuesday at the Colchester game. I said, "It's your fault. You told me that I've got to do it. How can I say no to you?" And we had a laugh and joke about it. But no, about what I want it to be is a celebration of Luton, and yes, we're celebrating Luton being in the Premier League, but also trying to celebrate the fantastic work that charities do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So Noah do fantastic work for the homeless and the disadvantaged, and mine do such great work for people struggling with mental health, like the crisis cafes and the wellbeing centre, and they do so much for the younger people. And and also for Keach, like all the people. I mean, it's how do you cope when you've got a life-limiting illness? But they do so much for them. So basically, it's like trying to celebrate the fantastic work in the community, and it's like, and I thought, have I got to the saturation point where people just a little bit had enough of me cycling? And
no, but you're doing it for a good cause.
I know, but I spoke to a few people. I said, is it too much? And
it can never be too much. And yeah, but the thing is, though, this whole cycle's helped you grow as a person as well.
Oh,
and
definitely.
That's the beautiful thing about the book. It's your journal and your journey while you're helping people. And at the same time, like, you start your book to the end of the book, you can see how much you've grown as a person. You're standing up on stage and like speaking and giving out presentations. When you were talking about at the start of the book how depressed and how sad and you had these thoughts, like, man, you've been on a roller coaster. Like you're no different from these heroes, these football players. You've just achieved just as much as these people, if not more.
Yeah, well,
this is why, like you said, like with the acceptance and that, but truly you are a hero of Luton Town.
Yeah, and I don't see that. I mean, and Jordan said like, "Oh, you're a hero," and like, and he says, "Oh yeah." Funnily, like they were on like long coach journeys to games, and then apparently someone said, "Oh yeah, but Mark's cycling it," and just I'm in that like you said, they are my heroes. They're living out my dream, and even getting compliments from players, and I wouldn't have gone up and spoke to them before because I just put them so high, and now they recognise me, and I have conversations with them, and that is surreal because it's just like
that's the thing with humans, though. We always see someone that does better than us, and we put them on like sort of like a pedestal. Yeah. But then when we actually speak to them, we're like, we're just all human at the end of the day. We're all the same. There's no there's no difference between us. Yeah, just because you can play football, but you're good at riding. There's not really much different.
Yeah,
you're doing extreme rides as well.
And someone said to me, "Oh, you're so humble." It's like, what do you mean I'm humble? I'm a bloke on a bike that goes to football. Why would I not be humble? There's nothing special. I just like...
Yeah, but to you, it's nothing special, though. But to a person or a little kid now looking at your journey, they'd be like, wow, like he's just done all these away rides. We have trouble... I feel like nowadays we have trouble believing in ourselves.
Oh, definitely.
And belief is such a big thing. When you believe in yourself, like for example, like when I run my marathon, I couldn't believe I ran a marathon. I was like, I can't believe I've just done this. I've done this, me. I never thought in a million years I would ever be able to run a marathon. Well, I run a marathon.
But do you know what? Everyone has their mountain to climb.
Of course.
And every mountain that people climb is unique to them. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, whatever people, and I full respect to people that make that step and go out of their comfort zone to climb their mountain, whatever that mountain is. And so it's like respect to everyone, what everyone's doing,
because we're all on a journey.
Yeah,
we all suffer, and that's the funny thing. Like some people say, "Oh no, I don't suffer." We all suffer.
Yeah,
we all have something that we suffer with.
We all have doubts, and we've all got. And I relate it to like the two voices. You've got one voice telling you can't do it, and one voice telling you can. And which voice is the loudest? And but it's like everyone makes sacrifices to achieve, and it's for different reasons. And my story, some might relate to my story, some might not, and but if one person does, then it's been worth it.
Job done.
How did so once the ride was all over and sort of done, like, how did you cope with life after the ride? Because that's such a massive part, going to the away games. Did you like...
Not very well, I'll have to say.
Yeah.
And so the first one, 21-22, the away cycle, it was such a massive thing. And the sort of month afterwards, it's just like this massive anticlimax. And so, season ended May. And obviously there was the bit of a downer. We lost in the playoffs. And also the fact that the challenge had ended. And for a month, it was just like trying to come to terms with what next. And someone joked saying, "Oh, you'll have to cycle to every ground now." and like it was a joke. And then I sort of thought, oh, I wonder what the map looks like if I was going to cycle to every ground. And you just know, like the seed's there. It's like, okay, that's the map. So you sort of see, right, that's the map if I cycle to every ground. And then I start to think, okay, so how would that work? And then you sort of get into sort of like planning it, and every challenge I do, for every thinking, oh, that'd be amazing to do, there's always saying, yeah, but you can't do that because that means cycling for 5 weeks, or you can't do that, how are you going to get to Middlesbrough in January? And there's these voices that for every reason not to do it, there's a what if I could do it. And that's the same with every challenge, and more so the 5-week one was just the toughest thing I'll ever do, I think, physically and mentally, to basically like cycling 33 out of 34 days.
That's a lot.
Like 5 weeks with 1 rest day. So basically, to go back to your question, and obviously with the mental health is just to have something to focus on. And once again had the momentum, the Watford Pledge, the Away Cycle Challenge, and then doing every ground, and that was different because that was a culmination of 5 weeks. It wasn't over 10 months. So that was a big build up, and then in my mind that was the last one because I'd done the championship, done every ground. But then we got promoted, and
no, you're like, I'm on to the next.
People said, "Oh, it's the Premier League, and we obviously don't know what's going to happen this season." And like a lot of people have said, "No, just like you've done enough, and just enjoy the season." But I never knew whether they were saying that because they wanted me to enjoy the season without the pressure of cycling, or whether they just thought, "No, I've had enough of hearing you and hearing about you cycling to the games." I never knew whether it was.
I think it's the first one. I think it would be the first one.
Just like.
Sure. How is your work with you with all of this? Are they very supportive of you? Because it seems like it takes a lot of your time, obviously.
So the first away challenge, I did it with. I just used all my holiday up. So literally, where there was a away game that needed time off, I just saved my holiday. They knew what I was doing, so it was like, right, I need this day off, I need that day off. With the 5-week one I've just done, I actually gave up my job to do it. Wow. So I couldn't ask for 5 weeks holiday in one go. There's no way I could do it. I was at a stage of my career where I just wanted to take time out. I'd been in work for like sort of virtually not had a break since for however many years it was. So I took the decision to give up my job, commit to the challenge. I was going to do the challenge, and then after that challenge was over, take the summer out, and then I was going to visit my family abroad and just like reevaluate my life in terms of what I want to do for my next stage of working.
Next step.
So literally I haven't worked since February. Stopped in February. I was training up until April when it started. The ride finished May, and then obviously the celebration of Luton, and then visiting family, and I'm now at the stage where I'm looking to get back into work. But obviously with the commitment of doing the Premier League is that
it's
obviously
a big thing.
I want a job that will allow me to do this challenge. But I think this is definitely, I keep telling people it's the last one, but the Premier League one is the last one, just to hopefully people will get behind it, they'll support it. And
it's a big one, to be fair, isn't it? It's just the Premier League.
Yeah, hopefully you get some traction from the big clubs that have a lot of following as well. That would be very nice.
And the fourth charity I'm doing it for is prostate cancer, and that's like the National Prostate Cancer UK. So hopefully, if I always think that people will donate or they support it because they like the charity or they like the challenge or they like the person. I'm hoping that people have donated. I mean, people have donated £27,000 in the last 2 years, 34,000 since I started these challenges. I'm hoping it's a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if people from the clubs will relate maybe to the Prostate UK being a national charity rather than affiliation to the local charities in Luton. So I also thought, is 4 charities too much? Am I diluting the support for the charities? But I wanted it to be about supporting the fantastic work in the Luton community, and I've consistently supported prostate cancer through Mick and through my own family experiences, that I wanted to keep sharing that message. So hopefully people get behind it, they'll support it, and if people want to buy the book, then they can still buy it. And basically, if people buy it direct from me, then I donate £2 each. Whereas, obviously, through Amazon, I can't do that.
Donate,
So, but yeah, hopefully people get behind it, and it's going to be an amazing journey.
I think so, man.
I do just want to go back to the cycling to all the clubs.
Yeah.
So did you have to go like en route and go to the club as you were going up towards Carlisle and stuff like that?
So the 116 challenge, I got the train up to Carlisle, and it was so lovely because Justin Dealey from Three Counties met me at the station, saw me onto the train, and then when I finished it at Luton, I met him there, and I feel Justin's been on this journey with me because he was the one that got to
from the start to finish.
He right at the beginning when I did the challenge, he was interviewing me on Three Counties when nobody knew what I was doing. He was there when I got to Fulham in my tuxedo for the bet.
Yeah, that's mad. How did it feel to ride in a tuxedo?
So basically the bet was...
And you got it on a good deal.
Yeah, you got it for cheap. You did get it for cheap.
Do you want to know the story behind that?
Go on.
I was at the EFL Awards, and I was all dressed in my bow tie, and someone said, "Oh, if you cycle to Fulham, I'll make a donation." So we shook on it. I thought that is a generous offer. So literally, it's at the awards. Went home on the Monday, and literally I went round charity shops because this suit could get absolutely battered.
Yeah.
The suit could be just like Watford, it just got battered. Had to get that one in.
Yes.
But literally, I went round the charity shops and I literally bought the whole suit all in for 25 quid. And I think literally I went to get the trousers altered. And normally you go in for the alterations and you say, "Oh, can I try the shoes on just to make sure they fit?" So now come the cycling shoes. He looked at me like they're cycling shoes. So literally, so I put the suit on, cycled to Fulham as part of the agreement. And the first half, people thought I was just coming home from a party.
just riding your bike home.
Was it a good night? So
a lot of people bibbing you and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so got to London, and the thing was, being at Fulham in black and white, Fulham playing black and white.
Yeah.
So but yes,
probably thought you were a Fulham fan.
That's how that came about. So
Planted a seed.
Yeah, it's just random. It's I did say I'll do that if it means the charities get more money. So. So yeah, that was loads of stories.
You've had so many surreal moments, man.
I know,
it's a crazy story.
I know, it's just I think we all go through life experiences and things that happen in your life that good and bad experiences everyone goes through, and it's just, like I said, it's a journey. I think it's the same for a lot of people that they never feel that they arrive at a destination. They're on a journey, and sometimes they'll take the wrong path and they'll hit potholes. And
I feel like that's life, though, isn't it? It's going to be a journey to the day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of experiences shape you, and a lot of experiences that aren't positive also shape you, because you just sort of learn from it. And I just think through experience it makes you a better person, and you're able to
do you ever look back at your old journey and you just do you ever think wow, I'm here? Did you ever recap it?
Yeah, I mean it's going back a bit, when people pay compliments and you sort of try and play it down and I just did that, and it's not until you sort of look back and you can reflect and think, yeah, that was. I mean, now not just the cycling, well, in particular cycling, I just look back and think, how did I do that 5 weeks and at 116 grounds? How did I?
Yes, a lot.
Like
Jeez.
when I was injured and I had to do 3 days, which were back to back 100 miles plus, and I was like injured. It's like, how did I do it? And you look back and think, yeah, that is something to be proud of. And yeah, you just look back on, and also I think you look back on mistakes and you think, what was I doing and how could I be so stupid to make that mistake? But
without the mistakes,
but it shapes
progress.
you. It shapes you, doesn't it? I think for all of us, it just shapes your life, and yeah, basically, it's.
I know you got on well with Harry Cornick as well.
Yeah.
What was it like to see him leave in January?
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was upsetting. I've got to know him, and so I met him. So it's sort of like the rumours were circulating. He's going to Bristol City, and I met him before the game. And says, "Look, I know you might be going, but I just wanted to thank him for how he supported me, and right from when he came to my house and like obviously gave me the shirt, and I thought, right, well, they'll soon forget about me, and next time it's like, how's it going? And then he gave me the shirt at Swansea, so it was like emotional that he then left, and it's like I was just about to start my 116 cycle, and he sent me a direct message saying, I just want to wish you good luck. And it's just like, it's like everyone, I just feel like everyone that plays for Luton, they're so humble, they're so grounded, they're so approachable, and obviously Harry appreciated the sacrifice I did and what I did, and it was just like really emotional. And I got the chance to say goodbye, and as it transpired, he did leave for Bristol City. But then even after he left, he still took the time to wish me good luck, and it was such a nice
Just generally a good guy.
yeah. And like I said, like there's a few players that really, and like they know me by name, and it's nice, but yeah, Harry was just and like the journey he's been on, he joined us in League Two, and it's like there's a number of players like Pele, they go through the league, and I remember, he's done well in League Two, but he's not a League One player. I mean, I remember James Collins getting that. He's got goals in League One, but he's not a Championship player. And players have stepped up through every league, and Harry's the same. He's joined as a League Two player where he was just all pace and frightened League Two defenders. But then he gets 15 goals in a Championship, and they develop, they've learned to grow, they're on the journey with the club, and they grow as well. And I think Nathan once said that it's like, if some players will outgrow the club, and some players will grow on the journey with the club, and some players will get left behind because they don't adapt on that journey. And players are in each of those different categories, and a lot of players have just grown on that journey. And the thing with Rob is that a lot of the players that are staying with the club in the Premier League and all be playing, like a lot of players that got us up will be playing in the Premier League. And it's just great that these players have been realising their dreams to play in the Premier League. It's obviously a fan's point of view, it's our dream, but if you imagine all these players like going through the loan periods, like Tom Lockyer at Bristol Rovers, and I could go through every player Pele from West Ham, then going down to non-league and being on that journey. Every player will have their own personal story.
It's pretty mad, isn't it? Everyone's been on a journey.
Everyone's been on a personal journey to now. And like when I met Jordan at the parade, I says, Jordan, you're a Premier League player. And he turned around and says, yeah, and you're a Premier League cyclist. But no, they've all, I mean, one of the most surreal stories was that in the non-league, Jordan Clark played for Hyde at Luton in the non-league. and now he's in the Premier League with Luton.
Yeah, it's crazy. Isn't
Mad is that, isn't it?
He went to Accrington Stanley, and then he's joined us. But honestly, like, the players are just, honestly, they're so approachable, so nice, and they've all been so good to me. And like I said, it's like the values that we sign good characters. Yes, we sign great players, but we sign good characters. And if you're not a good character, you won't last long in Luton, because the camaraderie,
it's a team spirit.
The spirit within the team, and it's not just the players. Like, every person that's contributed that works in that club has contributed massively, and everyone is treated the same. It's just a beautiful club and a beautiful place, and just got incredible people
That's why it works really well, doesn't it? It's like a family.
Oh, definitely.
It's like its own ecosystem.
Yeah, like everyone wants it to do well.
Yeah,
You ain't got no bad people on either side.
Bad eggs,
Nah.
and even like,
or politics. Normally in clubs you have a lot of politics, don't you?
Yeah,
There's this guy that someone don't get on with, or he's not doing this.
and Nathan left. So when Nathan left, obviously we didn't know what was going to happen and who we were going to get. So I went to the Christmas dinner. I think he left sort of September, October. Went to the Christmas dinner, and Rob was there, and I got to meet Rob, and I literally spoke to him for 2 minutes.
You already like, yeah.
And I knew he was just an absolute perfect fit. I mean, the recruitment, it's not just one person that watches a player, or the recruitment, they're preparing for the next stage. And I've spoke to Rob, and just what a nice human being he is, and just so friendly and so approachable. But I just spoke to him for literally 2 or 3 minutes, and I just knew
you already know what type of person he is.
What a perfect fit was the club. He was obviously asking what I'd done, and he was just generally interested in me, and he's a proper people person. On his first day, he literally wanted to meet everyone. Didn't matter who they were in the club, he wanted to meet everyone. And obviously, like, what he's done got us into the Premier League. But yeah, I just knew that the club have got it right again. They've just got the perfect fit, and just the mere fact that them down the road thought he wasn't good enough after 10 games. They let him go. He comes to us and he gets us promoted. Just like,
it couldn't be any better, could it? Couldn't be any better.
What's free? Because you're basically a proper cyclist, a hardcore cyclist. Say someone wants to get into cycling. What's 3 top tips you can give them?
there's
I know there's a lot.
there's a question.
Yeah.
The advice I was given on the bike was sort of know your limit, as in you've got a budget, and you could spend like ridiculous amounts. I mean, my main bike was more than my previous car, but
you can spend a lot. I think my boss, I remember he spent like, it was nearly like a fucking mortgage on a bike.
I know, but anyway, so basically, like, know your limit in terms of what your budget is. The thing I like about cycling is it's not, how can I explain this? But basically, like it's your own, you cycle at your own level. And I've never, in all the cycling I've done, I've never felt in competition. And obviously there's stages where I want to go faster, but I've never felt in competition. And
Running sort of like that. For me anyway. I feel like I get into competition.
Yeah.
I don't really need to.
No, but with cycling, it's just enjoy it. And when I started cycling, I just got into it to get fit. And then someone I used to work with says, I'm doing a 50-mile sportif, which is like a non-competitive event. And I thought 50 miles was just like, I just couldn't comprehend doing 50 miles. But I trained, I thought, right, I'm going to give it my best. And after that, 100 miles was just like this iconic number that I thought was totally unachievable. And I never felt in competition. I just wanted to like do the best I could do and see where it could take me. And in the early days, my whole thing was, right, I'm going to find a distance that absolutely is the most painful thing ever, and it's going to put me off, and it's going to put me off and going to stop me cycling forever. And I've probably not found that yet. So, I mean, getting back to the original question is just enjoy cycling for what it is, and whatever your thing is, whether it's like whether you want to do sportive events or whether you just want to like do 5 miles, whatever your thing is, just enjoy it and just
keep your ego in check.
I don't even think there's an ego with cycling. It's like I've had like people go past you. It's like I'm happy with my level, and and what I used to find was that people would go past me on the flat,
But you catch them.
but I catch them on the hills because I'm light, the bike's light, and so like I had a coach to sort of help me, and that was probably one of the best decisions I made because she taught me so much about cycling. It wasn't necessarily about being ultra serious. She taught me so much about nutrition and recovery and all things like cadence and all that stuff that I basically asked her to help me for my first event in 2016. But she taught me so much about cycling. Just enjoy whatever your thing is, whether it's 5 miles, whether it's 100 miles, whatever your thing is, just enjoy it, because I got into it just to just keep fit, and I couldn't run anymore, and I just wanted to find something else that I could do. And I've probably done...
Have you ever tried running again?
Yeah.
Your knees just like, nah.
I tried it. I thought, this is going well. And obviously because of the support, expensive trainers, and it didn't last, basically. But I think I've probably, since 2015-16, probably cycled about, 70-odd thousand miles. Wow. And that all started because I just wanted to do something for a couple of weeks and get fit, and like where cycling's taken me. I mean, it's basically like I've raised 35,000, which is not anything big about me, but it's just given me a tool to sort of help others. But it's also given me an enjoyment that I've done some like incredible things on the bike, but I've never. So it's a very long-winded way to answer your question, but just enjoy it for what it is, and get advice on the bike. I mean, there's
just start small and just.
Yeah, I mean, I started just happy to do 20 miles to doing 2,500 miles in 5 weeks. And it doesn't have, it can be whatever you want it to be. Just enjoy cycling and it's also can be such a social thing. If you get people, go out with people, and it's very rare I go out with people, and it's because I enjoy it, but it's just a social. You're not watching what you're doing, it's a social thing. So just enjoy cycling for what it is, but also if you do want to progress it, then
you can step it up.
Well, and also there's so much advice to help you. There's so much that will just help you get out of cycling what you want. If you want to, one of my big things was doing an average of 20 mile an hour for like an hour. That was my one big thing, and trying to see the speeder hit 20. But then that was just one of my goals. So just enjoy it. I mean, like life's for fun and enjoying it, and it's just taken me on an incredible journey.
I'll read a little bit here, but you go across the 10 months, 26 away challenges, 2,970 miles cycled, 202 hours of cycling time, 127,000 feet elevation, and 87,000 calories burned. That's a lot. That's a lot of miles, isn't it? Averaged out all through them games.
It is.
But that was only on that, but the 5 week one would have been, how many miles was that?
So the 5 week one was 2,500 miles in 5 weeks. Ooh. Whereas the three,
that's not far off of this one.
Put myself down for the first one, but the second one was 2,500 miles in 34 days, whereas the first one was 3,000 miles over 280 days. So it was a physical.
It's different, isn't it? It's intense.
Yeah, but and not to that takes a lot of, and even I was worried whether I could do it. So I went back to my old coach, and it's all about, you've got the aerobic fitness, and it's just about tailoring it. And the advice she gave me is, it's more important you get the nutrition, the recovery and all that in, than it is to do millions of miles training, because how you recover to go day after day after day is more important. You can't train to cycle 33 out of 34 days. It's impossible. But getting the recovery in was whether I would succeed or fail, basically.
Yeah.
How much was you eating on a day then? How many calories?
Well, over 34 days, I burnt 80,000 calories.
Yeah,
so it's,
so how much would you eat on a normal day? But you're probably drinking a lot, ain't you? And nibbling.
So basically the energy, so the carbohydrates is where you're getting the energy from. So you're basically like replacing all the calories that you burn. But then the protein is what help repair the muscle tissue. So obviously, like the muscles, through the endurance and through the fatigue, they basically like need repairing
from breakdown. Yeah.
So that's when you basically need to get your protein in, get your drinks in. But as we were saying earlier, if you wait till you're fatiguing, it's too late. You need to get that in before. And I think just experience, when's the time that you need to. I mean, I always try to do, like, get the rests in when. I always try to get a couple of hours in before a rest. I almost feel like I didn't deserve a rest if I'm stopping after 20 miles and I'm doing 120 miles that day. It's almost like I don't deserve the rest. But the other thing is sort of, one of the things I do is a lot more is ride by feel. I say ride by feel, in that some days you go out, it's just not happening, you're feeling tired, and not to push yourself. Like, you might set off saying, I'm going to do 50 miles today. It's not the end of the world if you're not doing 50.
Yeah.
You feel,
listen to your body.
Yeah, basically listen to your body, and that's probably going back to the 3 things advice for cycling is listen to your body. And it's not like a defeat, like, I said I was going to do 50, I've only done 20, but it's probably more silly to do 50 when your body's tired, your body's telling you that you're struggling. And the other thing is, like, if you do endurance, you get fatigued and you get niggles and injuries. It's just like knowing when is something that could be not just a niggle. So when you do endurance, you're constantly getting niggles, but it's the experience of knowing this could be something more than just a niggle, and it could have a long-term effect. So it's just, I think a lot of it's experience, but most of all, it's just enjoying it. And if you don't enjoy the experience, it's, yes, I'm trying to raise awareness, but, and I'll be honest, on the 5 weeks, there's days where I'd want to be anywhere but on that bike. I was
going to say that.
I just like
intense.
8 hours of being rained on and thinking you're only like 8 days into 34 days, but then you focus on why you're doing it. So you basically just try and remember why. A bit like anything in life, it's like the why is more important than the how. That's probably another bit of advice that, like, if you know why, that will get you through the difficult times. Rather than the how. If you know, sort of like, I'm just cycling for no reason, then if you come across difficult times, then you probably need the motivation. What will keep you going? What get you through the difficult times? Like the 5 mile thing to get through the next 5 miles, because your goal is to get to the end of that day.
Is there anything left from you?
No, I'm good.
We're good to go on to the final 2 questions. So the final 2 questions of the pod, this is ones that we ask everyone. We like to finish on these ones.
No, under pressure.
How do you want to be remembered when it's all said and done? The Mad Hatter's written his next book. How would you like to be remembered?
I think for me, and I won't try not to give a long-winded answer, but I see myself as I've got 0 natural ability, but I just try to be the best version of me I can be every day. And whatever I'm doing, whether I get off a bike, whatever I do, I almost don't want any regrets. I don't want to think, I could have done better or could have done more. At the end of each day, I think, I haven't done what I wanted to do, but that was the best version of me. And for me, it's just, the whole thing is never give up. One of my other things for myself is, what excuse would be acceptable for myself to give up whatever it is, whether it's just a cycle, whether it's anything else. I always give 100% effort, commitment, determination, and almost what would be an acceptable reason. I'm not saying like I shouldn't put your health at risk just to be stubborn enough just to finish it, but my two things are what reason would be acceptable to me to give up, and the other thing is just be the best version of me, and knowing at the end of the day, no regrets. That represented the best effort I could give on that any given day, and that's sort of conversation I have with myself every day with everything that I do.
Oh no, that's brilliant.
That's solid.
Yeah, that is solid.
That's solid.
Yes. And the last one is your most euphoric moment in life so far.
Oh, that is like so.
If you've got more than one, you can give more than one as well.
Oh,
You just sting people with it.
That one hurts people when they come in it. There's too many sometimes.
I mean, yeah, that's.
If you can give more than one, maybe you could give one for football, one for cycling, one normal life, any way you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cycling one would be the 116 challenge. Just what I went through physically and mentally. I never knew whether I was going to get there. And the thing was, like, I love Kenilworth Road anyway, but to see that sign and know that I was at the end of it was just.
Yes.
It was just euphoric. Football wise, obviously with Luton, euphoric moments of just like the Wembley finals, the Arsenal final, the playoff final. Just euphoric in terms of never thought it would happen, but just what it meant. So that is the football one, and I think I don't have many euphoric personal moments just because of like my own. I've probably like stuck records back on again, but like the sort of self-esteem, and I sort of see like you think of euphoric as like a sense of achievement. You think of like, oh, I've done this is amazing, and to have that feeling of myself when I sort of don't have that sort of like positive thoughts of myself, it's just like really difficult to sort of put myself in that positive light. I think, oh yeah, that was a euphoric moment. I probably think of euphoric moments in terms of what I've done to help other people.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Definitely it. I don't
so-
think I've got one for myself.
I mean, euphoric moments, I think of personal moments where I think I've just sort of like, people have sort of like valued where I've helped them. And so, like, I think euphoric moments for me personally is more about what I do for other people rather than euphoric moments of what I've done for myself.
That's perfect. I think it's subjective to everyone individually.
Yeah, and I'll go home and I'll think, oh yeah, that was a.
Well, you touch someone.
Yeah,
You've helped someone.
Yeah, and so I think that would be.
So that definitely.
That's brilliant. They were big moments though. Anyway, I don't like we can downplay it, but they're big moments. For anyone looking to find you, where can people find you? Any social medias, anything like that?
Yeah, so at Mark Crowther 66 is my Twitter, my Instagram. You can find me on that. So yeah, if final.
We'll be able to link it up.
Yeah, I'll link everything down below as well.
Yeah.
And with the book situation, would you prefer people to just come straight through you or through Amazon through you?
No, I'd prefer coming direct to me. If they come direct to me, then, like I said, £2 goes to Keach Hospice for each of the book. Whereas, obviously, with Amazon, then I'm not able to do that. But yeah, if people want a book, or if anyone wants to support me on the Premier Pedal Challenge, then
all the charities that.
If you're just going to Just Give In and put my name in, then the Premier Pedal Challenge will come up.
I'll link that down below as well.
Or
For anyone
it's
looking.
It's Mark Premier Pedal Challenge is the page basically. But yeah, if people want to follow me or support me, or I would even say I'll put it out there. If anyone wants to join me this season, want to join me on the cycle,
You should try and, well, I know it would be hard to get in contact, but it would be nice for Ben Foster, like, to try and get in contact with you or something. Used to do a collaboration, that'd be sick. Do you know who Ben? Obviously, you know who Ben Foster is, and his channel.
Yeah, he's now busy with Wrexham, isn't he?
Yeah.
Busy with Wrexham,
But no, honestly, because so you know the guys from Owen the Town. So they've joined me. So they did Peterborough on my away cycle. Honestly, it's like so much fun just having to do it with someone. So I'll put it out there. If anyone wants to join me, then I'm more than welcome to have some company.
Yeah.
He'll join you. He's good at cycling.
The Carrera out back. The wheels haven't been turned on it for many years.
Yeah.
But no. I wouldn't commit. I won't commit. I was about to say, yeah, maybe, but I won't commit. But if I can, or it makes sense at the time, then yeah, I'd like to.
Even if it's just like.
We've got any close ones?
Even if it's just 5 miles, 10 miles.
I'd come on a 10-mile ride with you. I'd come on a 10-mile ride.
But no.
I know when you made the guy ride up Toddenton and you said it weren't a hill, it was just an incline. That is definitely a hill. That is definitely a hill. When I was reading that, I was thinking, I'm not surprised he was moaning. I would have been moaning as well.
That was like one of my standing jokes was like, this is a hill, no, it's just an incline. This must be a hill. And like, yeah, it was like a bit of a standing joke.
If anyone knows Todden,
that is a hill. Because even when you drive down it, I'm like tapping the brake. No, that's brilliant. We appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your time, man.
No, I've absolutely loved today, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys. And
thank you for inspiring people, and
Yeah.
inspiring us. Like this book is an amazing book.
oh, thank you.
Yeah,
And
and-
like I said, I just didn't know if only 2 people bought it, I'd be ecstatic. So I think I've sold about 150 copies now. So
I think you definitely should write another one for the Premier League and maybe add a bit.
so?
Yeah, maybe and then because you've done the 5-week challenge, I
Yeah.
know you've not maybe done the journal for it, but you could add that at the
well,
start.
the reason I didn't do the journal was obviously that's about Luton and people like the journey of going to the games, whereas the 5 weeks was just riding around every ground. That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
But I just put it out there. I spoke to Tom Loca Tuesday and he enjoyed the book as well.
Yeah, no,
So
that's wicked.
Our captain saying it's
Well,
a good read.
you give
so-
inspiration.
I think you should definitely, especially if you're looking to say like it might be your last one and it's Luton's first season in the Prem. I think it makes sense to recap.
Yeah.
Recap the season again. I think
You'll
that would do
get
really
traction.
well.
You're in the Premier. Like, there's Premier League team. If you can get the same sort of love and the same traction, wow, man! Like you never know what you could be doing.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna enjoy the journey.
Yeah,
the
of course,
Premier League,
enjoy it,
enjoy
yeah.
the ride, and so it all starts. So Friday the 11th of August. So it's 100 miles down to Brighton. I might cycle to Wolverhampton next Tuesday just to try and raise some awareness and get some miles in. I've booked up for Germany today. So going for the pre-season, and yeah, it all starts.
Are you going to cycle to Germany?
No.
I was going to say, man.
Slow down, old boy.
Goggins Junior, man.
Well, so finally on Tuesday, Tom Locker, they discussed when he heard I wasn't cycling to Germany. I don't think he was too impressed. So, but no,
Maybe if we get Europa Conference League or something, we could be playing in Baghdad.
But no, it's but yeah, no, thank you, guys.
No, that's wicked. No, we appreciate you coming
an
on.
absolute blast talking to you, and just hope,
Then it won't be the last
monster
time.
of a man. No.
hope everyone enjoys it.
No, I'm sure they will. We got a lot of good responses on when people when Jason mentioned it in the last.
I don't know how people
podcast.
can't enjoy it. You're a monster.
Yeah,
You're a monster.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like you
mentality
cycle,
monster,
your mentality's like,
And
you get through it.
I know, and like sort of talking about people who met Jason is just like incredible. I got to know him through his drawings. I bought the Nick Harford one. I bought nearly all of them, and what a nice guy. And
Brilliant guy.
He's so talented, and
talented.
He's like, I couldn't cycle. I said, yeah, but that's easy. I could.
But you see how everyone
never do what
puts
you
their
do.
own achievement down of what they're doing, but to someone else who doesn't do that, it's like the most amazing thing. But when
Everyone's got their own art.
Yeah.
Your art's cycling.
did you see
His
his
art's art.
Rob Edwards one he just done? Oh mate, yeah, no, he's literally just released it yesterday or the day
Yeah.
before. Oh, it's good.
But he's so talented with like his drawings and like and what a nice guy. And
Yeah,
he's just like
Making the town a better place.
yeah,
People
and
like yous.
And
at the forefront.
I'm glad he's getting the recognition for his talent because his drawings are in a lot of places and he's working on big projects. But yeah, and once again, just someone else that I've met that I wouldn't have met without.
Well, it's funny because we've met him and now we've met you.
Yeah.
That's how it works, isn't it? It just comes in the cycle. That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, but no,
So-
thank you very much.
Nah, it's wicked. Everyone, I'll link everything down below where you can find him, where you can donate, and just where you can buy the book, everything. So go over there, subscribe to the page, give him a follow.
Come
And,
on, you atters.
Yeah, come on, you atters. And,
As the T-shirt says, we are Premier League.
and peace, everyone. Thank you.
Fan.